So over the last few weeks I've noticed an influx of brand new players who've picked up the game for the first time and are trying it out. Maybe you're one of those new players, or maybe you've just struggled to get to grips with the game. In this video, hopefully I'll be able to provide you with some tips and tricks to help improve you as a player, or at least teach you some stuff you may not have known.
It's a pretty decent site. That's badass.
If you are a new player, perhaps you should jump into some co-op to start off with. You'll be playing against bots rather than real life players in a less competitive environment, and people will be able to show you the ways and teach you the mechanics. You'll get to grips with the movement, the time to kill, how to use comms, and just the general feel of the game. However, maybe bots just isn't your thing. Maybe you want to test your skills against real people. In which case you should try out Domination. This mode has a far more relaxed feel to it compared to the other modes available within PvP, and would make a perfect starting point for a new player to come in and learn within a player versus player environment. People don't seem to care for objectives or communicate much at all, at least in my experience, so this mode should really be used as a training area before jumping into one of the more staple modes within Sandstorm. Okay, now let's talk about single fire, because in Insurgency Sandstorm, single fire is king, except for maybe CQB. Every weapon in Insurgency Sandstorm has immense firepower, and 1 to 2 shots to the chest will drop a player with no problem at all. For me, I would only ever use the single fire option on high power weapons that are suitable at medium to long ranges. I'm thinking assault rifles. You would never see me use single fire on the SMGs because it doesn't make sense for the engagement range you'll be fighting in. This is something you should think about too before entering tied play areas. You can cycle through the different firing rate options for each weapon, whether it be single, fully auto or burst, using the up button on the D-pad, and that goes for PlayStation and Xbox players. With recoil being so prevalent within the game, there are a few ways you can mitigate it. Crouching and proning will significantly reduce your recoil and allow you to hit more of your shots. Take the time to position yourself, and if a target is in an awkward spot or some distance away, try to crouch before pulling the trigger. Going prone in an advantageous spot is also a good idea when trying to defend a flank or a position, because you're able to send more accurate shots downrange. Combine these stances with single fire and you'll find yourself hitting more shots than you usually would. Another great way to be more accurate is to use the focus button. Unlike in most games where you can only hold your breath and focus with snipers, you can focus with any firearm in Insurgency, whether it be a sniper, an AR or even a pistol. Use focus to hit targets at long ranges, or when you're trying to hit headshots. Head glitchers and that pesky sniper that keeps killing you won't know what's hit them when you shoot the head off from 100 meters away. The focus button can be quite tricky to use though, with it being configured to R1 on PlayStation, and I'm assuming it's RB on Xbox. But with practice you will learn to adjust your fingers for the moment you need it. To be honest, I barely use it. It's only in certain situations where I know I need to take a controlled shot that I will focus in before pulling the trigger. Okay, so we've gone through some stuff that will make you a more accurate player, but in order to increase your survivability in this game there are a few things to learn, leaning being one of them. Ideally when engaging in a gunfight you want as little of your body showing as possible, and leaning will help you to maintain as much cover as possible when engaging targets. You can do this by pressing down either the left or right stick while aiming down sights, or you can enable the auto lean setting which will automatically lean when you approach the edge of cover. Not that I'd recommend turning it on. Leaning can be useful for holding a flank and waiting for opponents to walk into your crosshairs. It can help you peek angles and doorways in a more safe way. Use the lean feature at every opportunity that is presented. It will save your life. On the contrary, here's something that could get you killed. Unlike Warzone and the most recent Battlefield games, your movement is punished a lot in Insurgency. Sliding around corners, sprinting around corners, jumping around corners. Yeah, don't do that, you'll die. After every action your character has a delay in pulling a weapon out, and with the game being a 1 to 2 shot kill, if you round a corner without the ability to shoot back, you're pretty much toast. Instead, use these movement mechanics in a more useful way. Getting shot out while crossing a street, try sliding to cover. Same goes for jumping. It doesn't always help, but you got to at least try, right? The in-game compass isn't turned on by default, but can play a major role in helping you and your team communicate more effectively. You'll have to go into the settings to turn it on manually, but once you've turned it on you'll be a far more valuable asset to your team, especially when calling out enemy players' positions, and obviously understanding where your teammates are calling out. It's a simple tip but an effective one. It won't make you any better at the game, but it will help you improve your understanding of what's happening around you, which is something that can't be taken lightly. To communicate with your team, you should know that this game is push to talk. Press and hold the L1 button to talk through your mic, but be aware of who's around you. Enemies can hear you and easily locate you and your team. The sound design is really great and it makes sounds easily identifiable, especially your voice. However, the same applies to them. Listen out for enemy comms and use it to your advantage. Not only is the voice chat in this game really cool and immersive, and useful for intel purposes, but it's also really fun, which is what games are all about. Trash talking in this game is on another level, and really adds to the experience. So if you're playing without a mic, what are you even doing? You're missing out. For my final tip, I'm going to talk about flanks. Flanks are probably the best way to penetrate an enemy team's defence and pick off multiple unsuspecting targets in one quick swoop. It may take you more time to get into a position to be able to have an effect on the objective, but the payoff is massive. Although the maps are generally 3-laned maps, there are multiple ways to get around the enemy. Take routes through buildings, alleyways, or along the edge of the map to get behind the opposing team and start causing some serious damage. The best way to do this is to move through the map quickly and quietly. You may have to pick off someone blocking your path, so always stay ready to engage the enemy. If you can get in behind them, you can really go to town, and this will allow your team to hit them more direct, and you'll have a better chance of taking the objective. This also works as a defender, just less frequently. You can try to do similar manoeuvres to push onto the objective that your team is losing. The element of surprise is key to any good flank. Well guys, that was 8 tips to get you started on your way to being a better Insurgency player. I hope you can take something away from this video that will help you to dominate the battlefield. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care people.